Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. This is live stream number 950. Zoinks. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And normally we will take a first look at a tabletop game. Every once in a while I'll do a live review, but for the most part, we're usually peeking at new games, and tonight will be no different because I am going to take a deep dive into the Tales of the Valiant alpha release. Yes, this is the playtest release. I have a physical copy. Big thanks to Wolfgang Bauer for putting this into my hands. We are going to take a look inside in just a bit. But as I pointed out, it's really casual around here. We are not engaged in any sort of rocket surgery or anything along those lines. Now, should mention, if you are tuning in because you want to see the live first look at Tales of the Valiant, and I know at some point during the show, I am going to call it Tales from the Valiant, like Tales from the Dark Side, right? I don't know. I just got a bad feeling that's going to pop out. But if you are tuning in live to see that first look, let me point out, we tackled the tabletop gaming news first around here. So it's probably going to be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before I start taking a peek inside Tales of the Valiant. So if you are watching live, just kick back, relax. It's Friday Eve, as someone has pointed out in chat. I'll get to chat in just a moment. But be good to yourself. We'll get there. We'll get there. Now, if you happen to be watching 30 minutes or more after this show ends, well, then there will be just saw this big flying, I think it's a fly, just zip past. I don't know if you saw it on the camera there on the screen. I was like, all of a sudden it's like, I was like, what the? Hopefully it doesn't start flying around me here. Anyway, there will be timestamps. So if you're impatient, just gotta get to that first look. You can just use timestamps. They'll be located in the show notes, or, of course, depending on the device you might be watching this on, it could be right there in the timeline. So you can skip past tabletop gaming news if you'd like. Although I've got some cool news tonight. I always have cool news. But should mention, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And because this is a live stream, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, Maybe you've got a question, a comment. By all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight, one of our chat moderators. Yes, the Motor City Madman himself. The Madman is with us, saying, as I mentioned, happy Friday Eve. Kevin King is here, as is Roger Prudhomme and our friend Chen from Taiwan. And I'll take a guess that our resident lurker, Sarah D., who wields the stunningly large ban hammer, because she's another of our chat moderators, I'll take a guess she's probably hanging around as well. So welcome, everybody. Let's jump on into the news, because now available in print and PDF for the 5th edition of Ars Magica, or as one of my friends used to always refer to it, Ars Magica, are the Ancient Magic and Hedge Magic source books. And I've got the latest from Atlas Games. First off, we've got Ancient Magic. Learn from the past. Throughout history, magical traditions have come and gone. Their secrets and spells lost to the annals of time. However, the knowledge still exists for the mages who is willing to search. Join the seekers in their quest to find the lost magical arts. This book contains information on 9 lost magical arts, including locations where their secrets may be found and rules to use them in mythic Europe. Plunder graves and chthonic sanctuaries to learn the ways of defixio magic. Seek out the Basilica of 10,000 Columns to find the secrets of Hyborian magic and its hymns. Walk the cold reaches of the mythic north in search of the rune magic of the Order of Odin. Then we have Hedge Magic, magic beyond the Order. While members of the Hermetic Order might like to think of themselves as the premier magical power of mythic Europe, this is not necessarily true. Hedge magicians mingle with the mundanes, plying their trades in the universities and the villages. These desperate groups may not have the organization of the Hermetic Order, but their magical skill is undeniable. This includes extensive mechanics for 6 hedge magic traditions, which allow for creation of player characters, adversaries, or allies. Shape the elements with the Apostles of Apollonius. Learn the secret traveling powers of the Night Walkers, or cast the runes with the Victar. Each of these books clocks in at exactly 144 pages. You can grab the physical books for an MSRP of $29.99. Do believe these are hardcover, but I am not positive. They look like they're hardcovers. Just something about these covers that I'm sharing, they look like they're hardcovers. Or you can swing on over to Drive-Thru RPG and pick up each of these for $14.99. Gotta say, I don't share a lot of Atlas Games news, and they do a good amount of role-playing games. I know Ars Magica, the 5th edition of that. I think Unknown Armies, I think that is also Atlas Games. I think that's taking a stab in the dark, I think it's in the 3rd or 4th edition on that. And then, of course, they have some board game and card games as well. I know back when Elliot was part of the gaming gang, he actually had a bit of a relationship with Atlas Games. I have never actually had an opportunity to take a peek at any of their role-playing or even board game products, but I always heard good things about Ars Magica, or Magica, whichever it happens to be. So I thought I'd share this news piece. So Sarah D is with us, saying, just don't make me swing the hammer. She was pruning shrubs at work all day. So I guess she'd be taking it out on folks with that ban hammer if they don't behave. Flaming Heron's with us as well. Good to see Flaming Heron. He is another of our chat moderators. So we've got 3 chat moderators in here tonight. So that's kind of usually how we operate. So welcome, everybody. Let's move on to the next news piece, because there are 2 new adventures which have arrived For Delta Green, that's right, a little mythos horror. They are from Arc Dream Publishing. Here's what I know about From the Dust and Presence. First of all, we got From the Dust. Gorgo, Morbo, Thousand-Faced Moon. The Garrison Mansion, built in Red Hook in 1847, stands covered by scaffolding and plastic tarps in its slow metamorphosis into condominiums. A capable construction crew has the goodwill of neighbors, but when the day's work ends, something stirs in the darkness. Soft voices whisper, weird footprints linger. Children of Red Hook have begun to vanish. Delta Green takes an interest. The Garrison Mansion do not always have that name. Your agents must investigate the 3 most recent disappearances and strange reports from the Garrison Mansion. If some unnatural horror is at work, they must find a way to stop it. The moon darkens. Fears gather. The infants of Red Hook are hardly the only ones at risk. And then we have Presence. The Mother of Moons awakens. A lethal chord of cause and appalling effect connects the Vermont hills and a haunted woman 1,000 miles away. When a young woman in Alabama turns up in New England in an instant, Delta Green sends your agents to learn how and why. Learning that her vanishing was the work of some strange and fearful gift is only the agent's first step on a journey of terrible revelations. To save her and others, they must follow a trail of horror into night-black woods and vertiginous hills where silence drowns all hope. Both of these tales are complete scenarios for Delta Green, the role-playing game of Lovecraftian horror and conspiracy, and they are playable with the full rules in Delta Green, the role-playing game, or even the free quick start rules, which are available in Delta Green Need to Know. Both these adventures clock in at over 30 pages. They can be had in soft cover for $19.99 each, which will also include the PDF. Or you can grab just the PDFs over at Drive-Thru RPG for $4.99 each. Good to see some new Delta Green. And it does look, now, I think these have been out in PDF for a while, but they are now available as print on demand from Drive-Thru RPG. But it looks like we've got Brown Jenkins. Little image of, isn't that the rat, the human-faced rat thing in Tales from the Witch House? Isn't it Brown Jenkins? That's what it looks like to me, folks. Maybe something else. I'm sure it's supposed to be a creature like Brown Jenkins. It's not actually Brown Jenkins. Kathy Evans is with us, as well as Game Masters Hobby. Good to see you both hanging with the gang tonight. So yes, some Delta Green, yes. I should also mention, once again, I am always on the lookout for more reviewers of role-playing game PDFs. I have far too many companies looking to have me review their PDF releases. Maybe that's stuff that's just not coming out in print, or maybe it's not coming out in print for quite some time. So if you have any interest, shoot me an email, jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. All right, this is all role-playing games tonight because, as I had mentioned previously, we are kind of shifting gears a little bit more towards role-playing games. Going to do about 75% role-playing games, 25% board games or thereabouts. So we have all RPG news tonight. And I did notice Roger Perdome, so I kind of paused there for a second, was asking if Brown Jenkins is any relation to Leroy Jenkins. Leroy! Jeez. That's a meme that just keeps on giving. On to the next news. Peace Onyx Path Publishing has a backer kit crowdfunding project for Trinity Continuum Aegis. Here's the dope. Trinity Continuum Aegis is a game of epic adventure and exploration set during Greece's Iron Age. The setting features figures and events from history and mythology viewed through the lens of the Trinity Continuum. In this game, you'll play champions, oracles, and Olympians, characters who have come into contact with the mysterious substance called ambrosia and been transformed into inspired individuals with powers similar to talents, syads, and novas millennia ahead of their counterparts' times. The Trinity Continuum core book is required to play this game. These characters live in an age of wonder and discovery. People in the ancient world made amazing strides in science, exploration, and philosophy, all while grappling, sometimes literally, with gods and monsters. About a decade ago, bright streaks flashed across the sky and a fiery object crashed into Mount Olympus. Other pieces landed throughout the world, creating heroes and horrors wherever they touched down. Trinity Continuum Aegis continues to explore the Trinity Continuum's themes of hope, sacrifice, and unity in an age where societies are in decline and survival sometimes feels uncertain. These are the tenets under which people band together. There is a short backer kit video. It's a little over 2 minutes. It's going to go into a bit more detail about Trinity Continuum Aegis. So let's take a look.
A bright streak flashes across the sky over ancient Greece, turning night into day as a mysterious object crashes into Mount Olympus. Explorers discover pools of a strange golden liquid in the wreckage. Called ambrosia, the substance has the potential to change anyone who dares touch it. Now, monsters stalk the land, and heroes use their newfound abilities to vanquish the threat. Or join them. Which will you choose? Hi, I'm Lauren Roy, the developer for Trinity Continuum Aegis. Aegis is a game of super-powered, epic adventure set during the start of Greece's Dark Age, around 1200 to 900 BCE. You'll need the Trinity Continuum core rulebook to play, but otherwise Aegis has everything you need to explore this fascinating era. Aegis encourages players to experience Greek myths through a different lens and explore the wonders and dangers of the ancient world. Players take on the roles of inspired characters. Champions possess amazing luck, exceptional physical prowess, and sharp wits. Oracles use ambrosia and other reagents to knit flesh, conjure storms, or divine a person's fate, which often comes with a cost. Olympians undergo great personal transformation and wield godlike powers. They may sprout wings, throw lightning, or tear down a city's walls barehanded. Characters can join organizations from around the world intent on protecting the vulnerable, unlocking the secrets of ambrosia, and inventing new scientific marvels. They can explore strange places close to home or in distant lands, and make a stand against monsters out of myth, the Walking Dead, or the Atlantean fleet. With this project, we're aiming to fund a traditionally printed version of the book to sell in your friendly local gaming store. Once we're funded, we have a variety of stretch goals ready to go, expanding the world of Aegis, providing tools for virtual tabletop games, and more. If this sounds interesting to you, please pledge what you think is fair and spread the word. We can't wait for you to play this game and weave your own destiny.
The backer kit project for Trinity Continuum Aegis is nearly 200% funded, and you can reserve a copy of the hardcover and PDF for a $60 pledge, or score just the PDF for a $25 pledge through August 17th. Expected delivery on the PDF is January of 2025, with the physical book to follow in August of 2025. So I have to say that Sammy Uhas, who does reviews for the Gaming Gang, is a fan of the Trinity Continuum role-playing game system. So she has reviewed a few releases from Onyx Path Publishing. She tends to review more of their, what do they call it, their story path system, where they've got, it came from beyond the grave, as I like to call it. So one thing I'm kind of thrown by, though, is that is really far off for delivery on the PDF and physical book, seeing that this Kickstarter runs through the 17th and the PDF isn't expected until January, not next year, but the year after that. So I'm kind of curious because I don't have really any information on previous like crowdfunding projects that Onyx Path Publishing has produced. Are they just throwing out that date and then they're going to beat that date so they can say, oh, look, we delivered early? I don't know. I'm kind of curious because one would think with those sort of delivery dates, they don't have any work on this book done at all. Scott B. Smith is with us in chat mentioning, I thought it was pronounced Aegis, like Aesop. I was just pronouncing it as pronounced in the video. But I got to be honest, I've heard it called Aegis. There is a board game called Aegis, spelled the same exact way, and the designer always calls it Aegis. So I don't know. All righty. So moving right along, there is a new Traveler release, which for some strange reason, my teleprompter has locked on me. It's like, hey, wait a second, what's going on here? All right, hang on. I've got backup info. Let me pull that up. What lies beyond the Soleimani Confederation? Humans are great explorers, and the Soleimani are the greatest of them all. Ever since the days of the interstellar wars, the people of Terra have felt the call of the great rimward frontier, and they have answered. This outward urge has taken Soleimani explorers right to the edge of the spiral arm and beyond. The Lubbock and Xinjiang enclaves are little havens of civilization out in the big black. Just keeping those forward exploration bases supported is a venture enough for many, but beyond them lies the unknown, the mysterious Ramak, the civilization to reach and investigate the curious region known as the Spinner, and of course the long voyage out to Point Cetus, the most distant installation yet built by the Soleimani people. There are many challenges on the rimward frontier: rival Aslan and Hyver exploration missions, strange alien races, and mysterious hordes advancing out of the Flois Nebula. The greatest danger may come from other humans, descended from rule of man and early Terran colony missions. Some are glad to greet their long estranged kin. Others are territorial and aggressive. Far from home, with no support likely for months or even years, the travelers must face whatever comes their way. Who knows what wonders await just one jump plot away? Traveler Rim Expeditions is available now as a pre-order. So you can pre-order the hardcover, carries an MSRP of, I believe it's $60, because I am actually reading the sell sheet info off of Drive-Thru RPG because the teleprompter still is locked up. So, but you could snag the PDF over at Drive-Thru RPG because I'm looking right at the page now for $29.99, and it clocks in at 160 pages. Very nice. Always happy to see new Traveler stuff arrive. I like Traveler. What can I tell you? And I like the Mongoose Publishing edition of Traveler. Yes, I get it. I know it's overpriced. I get it. So Mr. Marmello is with us in chat. Been a while since we've seen Mr. Marmello. And thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. So I am not going to even attempt to translate the chat. John Muscola is with us as well tonight. Good to see you, John. So Scott and Fleming Huron are going discussing the pronunciation of Aegis or Aegis. It could be tomato, tomato, potato, potato sort of thing. It is very possible. It is very possible. All right. So that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG and reading the sell sheet information off of the Traveler Rim Expeditions page. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG or, say, Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. So thank you if you happen to use the banner ads. Also, if you like this video, beyond giving it a thumbs up, which I hope all of you would, especially if you're a regular hanging out, helps with engagement, helps spread the word on the channel. If you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Buy me a cup of coffee. Well, buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. That's about it, right? And I will point out our friend the Madman, he recently stopped by paypal.me and made a not so small donation. So big tip of the cap to those of you out there who use the banner ads for the One Bookshelf sites and or visit paypal.me. Thank you very, very much. Ryan Jackson is with us, says that they love the Gaming Gang. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you taking time to hang out with us tonight. So, Mr. Marmello says the translation is hard, especially in Marmelloian. Yes. All right. So I'm going to wrap up talking about Gen Con and wanted to mention that it was myself and my brother Greg came down for a couple of days to help out with the camera work. So if you notice, I mean, you know, I appreciate it because I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. Well, I take that back. I did bring my tripod with, but because I'm 6'1", I have to use, if I go solo with a tripod, I can't just bring any old, $20 cheapo tripod. They're not high enough. They don't go high enough. So I have, actually I took the tripod that I use here in the Duct Tape Studios with me, which is, it's a pretty pricey tripod, but it's actually a very nice tripod. And I used it before when I had to cover Gen Con by myself. So I appreciate my brother doing the cameraman work just with a monopod, but he's my older brother. So he's 2.5 years older than I am. And of course, when you get to our age, you start having to bust out reading glasses from time to time. Like the contacts I wear are actually kind of designed as almost like they're not really bifocals, but I don't really have to use reading glasses too often. But my real far vision is a little worse. So to me, it's a fair trade-off because I look at things like at this distance far more often than I'm looking at things, 1,000 feet away that are important, right? Or the madman points out, or, you wear bifocals. So anyway, I always carry around, do I have them out here? I do. So I always toss these reading glasses. They're like Nez Pez. I think that's how it was pronounced, right? December 7th, 1941. A date which will live in infamy. So anyway, so if I need to take a look at something real quick, I can pop them on. And then I just put them back. It's in a titanium case, goes into my back pocket. Or if I'm doing like camera work and stuff like that, just goes into my camera bag. Well, my brother will not put on reading glasses like in public. He's vain like that. So you'll notice and I had pointed out, I had explained how my camera works, and I've got it set up with it's like an extra guide. It's like a helper for you to tell what's in focus. It puts like a little blue like band around it. And I explained it to him. I said, okay, so if you don't see me and the subject I'm interviewing with a little outline in blue, we're not in focus. So thing is, he's shooting some of the interviews, and I've noticed, taking a look at the video, that using the back button focus, more, inside baseball talk. Anyway, using kind of this like autofocus that locks, right? Lock focus in on that point. He was locking the focus, and it would be like the sign behind us is nice and sharp in focus. We're a little fuzzy, not terrible, not horrible, but it's kind of like never fails. Same thing. I don't want to say anything. I mean, if Elliot had gone, been the same thing. The camera work would have been about the same. It's had other problems with it. Because, I take the production quality seriously, even if I, don't have the expensive equipment and stuff like that. I try to make the show, the videos, stuff like that look as good as they possibly can on my shoestring budget. That's my aim. My brother and my best friend Elliot, they're not as concerned, which completely understandable, right? So anyway, so I had to laugh about that. Now, to me, it is not a Gen Con without my best friend Elliot Miller there. Just isn't. And I had a good time hanging out with my brother. Yeah, we usually get along. I mean, sometimes we don't. So we had fun, but he's not really a gamer. So he'll game with us, but he wouldn't like go out of his way to play a game, right? He wouldn't been. He at no point in time was he like, well, instead of going back to the hotel, why don't we see if we can get into a game somewhere, or why don't we go break out a game and play? So anyway, so Elliot, on the other hand, Elliot will hang out. Now, granted, we went and had dinner and a few adult beverages and things like that. So, and Elliot does that as well when he hangs out at Gen Con. So I had already told Elliot, I said, hey, man, it's just not going to be Gen Con without you. And he just couldn't pull it off this year. He couldn't do Comic-Con and Gen Con. And as I pointed out in a previous episode, for him, going to San Diego's far more like a vacation than just going to Indianapolis. We're in the Chicagoland area, right? So, although if I would take a guess, if he had known how kind of lame Comic-Con would have been this year, he may have taken a pass and gone to Gen Con because of the strike screwing everything up. So anyway, so on Thursday, I took a photo and I sent it to Elliot with the caption, "It just isn't Gen Con without you." And here's the photo. Wait a second, where'd it go? What the hell? Hang on. Bang, there we go. Yep. Yeah. And of course, he just texted back, just laughing and laughing and laughing. It's just not Gen Con without you. All looking sad. Anyway, so the Madman said they might end up at Gen Con by themselves next year. Well, for one, Madman's got to make it to Gen Con. I think it's been quite a while since, because Madman usually goes to Dragon Con. So, let's see what else. Flaming Heron says, it's just me, but Gen Con would be the better of the two. Me too. Gen Con is my favorite convention. Even when I would go and cover like Origins, and every once in a while, well, twice I went out to Gamma when it was in Vegas. I wouldn't go to Gamma in Reno. Ugh, Reno's a shithole. Sorry to anybody who lives in Reno. Reno is a shithole. Sorry, there's no getting around it, especially downtown. Ugh. Ah. But Gen Con's always been my favorite convention. People get along. Not to say that they don't get along at other conventions, but like Comic-Con, you can tell that people are kind of, on their last nerve because it's such huge crowds, and everywhere you go, everybody's kind of packed together and things like that. You don't encounter that with Gen Con. And yes, of course, you've got people who are like, Pathfinder sucks, Dungeons and Dragons sucks, Pathfinder sucks, Dungeons and Dragons sucks. But nobody gets like in anybody's face or anything like that. So I always have a great time, always get along really well with the people at Gen Con. Everybody's always smiling, laughing, holding doors open for people and things like that. So yes, I definitely think Gen Con, at least in the years I've been going, is my absolute favorite convention. So until next year, but if the Madman makes it out to Gen Con, any of you who make your way out to Gen Con, drop me a line. I'm always up to go have a beer or two or five after the exhibit hall closes, go out to eat and things like that, do a little gaming. Kevin says, since I never leave town these days, the 2-hour drive to Indy is like a vacation. I'm not sure if I said hello to Kevin R. Smith tonight. Good to see you, Kevin. All right. So we're going to be diving on into the alpha release for the playtest of Tales of the Valiant from Kobold Press in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
better with Coca-Cola. Things go better with Coke. Life is much more fun when you're refreshed.
How about a cup of community coffee?
No, let me have brand X.
Okay.
Ooh, that smarts.
What's the worth of a man? For Steve Austin, it's $6 million.
Colonel Austin is in that plane.
I think they're going to shoot us down.
Isn't there any other way?
Lee Majors is Steve Austin. Steve Austin is the $6 million man, and he's worth every penny.
That's how the Navy hunts subs. And that's what you do in Mattel's new Sonar Sub Hunt game. It's the exciting naval battle game where you use the sonar scope to sink your opponent's submarines. You scan the field with the sonar scope, get ready, and push the firing button. Here's what happens when you score a hit. That's one sub gone. Whether you score a hit or a miss, keep hunting the subs, but watch out for mines. They can cost you a turn. Here's how you place your subs and mines. Then you watch through your periscope while your opponent tries to find them with the sonar. The first one to sink 7 subs wins the game. See if you can sink the subs in Mattel's Sonar Sub Hunt game. See it wherever toys are sold. And remember, you can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Yes, in that Coke intermission, I swear it's like they asked this young woman, it's like, okay, this is kind of like a screen test. I want you to go through a range of emotions on your face. It's like, right now we're going to throw some animation on top of it, which for some strange reason was a thing. It was a thing with like the intermission ads and stuff like that. Or what I think they call them snipes, if I remember correctly. So, yes. And then the $6 million man. Although the strange thing is, it's at Friday nights. I remember the $6 million man on Sundays. So, I did not realize this because I was too little. But the $6 million man actually started off as 3 TV movies for ABC in 1974. It was not something I was aware of. I just always thought it was just a series and probably had like a 2-hour pilot or something like that. But no, it was 3 made for TV movies, which led to the series. So Overboard is with us tonight. I believe it's the first time visit in chat for Overboard. I thought it was funny. They pop in and the intermission is going on and they're like, what are we watching? What the hell is that? So Testy Trekkie mentioned, Jeff, you're saying you want to sit in a tavern, drink, and gamble after Gen Con? What happens when the dark-robed stranger approaches with a job? I didn't say there'd be gambling involved, though I do like to gamble. I play blackjack. Yes, I don't play often, but I'm actually not bad. In fact, I was thrown out of a casino in Vegas once. They were like, you better just take your winnings and go. I was like, okay, see ya. Bye. Alrighty then. So tonight I am going to be diving on in and taking a look at the alpha release for the playtest of Tales of the Valiant, a fantasy role-playing game from Kobold Press. If you have not seen my interview with Wolfgang Bauer, be sure to check that out. We do discuss this, and Hold on a sec. I made some changes because now I'm going to only do 4 news pieces a night. So this is actually slotted in where the 5th news piece normally would have been, which that's why you start seeing some other images as well. So anyway, you'll learn more about Tales of the Valiant if you check out that interview. We're actually going to kind of take a bit of a deep dive into this tonight because I'm really curious about this. So the discussion is, how much would Steve Austin cost in 2023 dollars? Well, I got to be honest. If you remember watching the $6 Million Man, I don't think the government really got their money's worth out of that. So he's got an eye that acts like a telephoto lens. It's like, yeah, okay, but you could use a telephoto lens. Save yourself some money there. He had the 2 bionic legs, which he could run, I think it was 50 miles an hour. Okay, so most cars made in the 70s could outrace him easily. Not every car made, at least in the Western world. And then one of his arms could lift 2 tons. That's it. That is your $6 million in taxpayer money. Flaming Arrowhead says, it's the military, Jeff. Money's no option. So Kevin says, I think it was 60 miles an hour. I don't know. Like I said, I always thought it was like 50 miles an hour. And it was sort of like, well, yeah, okay. So if he's running after like an Olympic sprinter, yeah, okay. But if he's chasing a car, nope. All right. So we're going to swing on over to the other camera. Here I've got the Tales of the Valiant Alpha release. In fact, I'm going to grab a quick sip here. And I do want to thank Wolfgang Bauer for giving me this physical copy of the Alpha release. I don't believe this is for sale. They printed these up because they had an entire room dedicated to playtesting Tales of the Valiant at Gen Con. So before I dive on into this, though, I do have a personal, I don't want to say plea, but I do want to reach out to Wolfgang Bauer and I got to be honest. So most playtests are free. Most playtests that you'll get, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, the upcoming Starfinder 2nd edition, they're always free. Now, granted, this is about 177 pages of content already that's in this playtest. But Kobold Press is charging $10 for the PDF. Or, well, that's through Drive-Thru-RPG. If you go to Kobold Press's website, I think it's $9.99 for the PDF. So really not that big difference, right? A penny. But I would reach out to Wolfgang Bauer and recommend give away the playtest for free for a multitude of reasons. Because there are already people grumbling about paying $10 or $9.99 for a PDF of something that's not the finished product, and there's no indication that that $10 is going to go towards the finished product as far as the PDF. Like if you buy the playtest, then when Tales of the Valiant comes out next year, that $10 is applied to the cost. You know what I mean, right? There's no indication of that. Plus, everyone else does free playtests. Now, of course, if they're going to sell a physical book like we're going to take a peek at, of course, charge for it. Paizo did that. Paizo Inc. did that. In fact, at the Gen Con auction, I was hanging out for a little bit. There were actually a couple of copies of the Playtest hardcover that came out that actually sold for more than they were an MSRP, which I was kind of surprised. So, yeah, physical copy, yes. By all means, charge. PDFs, no. It just doesn't look good for Kobold Press. And I have a lot of respect for Wolfgang Bauer and the folks over at Kobold Press. And I think it is not a good look to be charging for a playtest. I really don't. You're charging people to give you feedback. You're saying, hey, we want to know what you think of this, but you got to pay for this first. So, and then, as odd as this may sound, I think this pushes people towards piracy. And I don't know for a fact that the playtest PDF is already floating around out there in the ether. I would guess it is. And somebody who's like, I'm interested in checking out Tales of the Valiant, but pay $10 for a playtest PDF. Oh, I don't. And then it's like, well, Jim Bob always tells me how they get all their role-playing game PDFs free by going to XYZ website. Maybe I should check that out. I'm just saying. So, Kevin says, Jeff, your point is particularly salient since they're going to have at least one more public playtest document before Tales of the Valiant comes out. Testy Trekkie says it definitely costs on their website. Yeah, like I said, I think it's $9.99. Kevin also points out, I would think it would only be free for backers. So, but, so Ryan says Pathfinder 2nd Edition charged for their playtest. I still have it. The physical book they did, I know that. I recall getting my playtest packet for free as a PDF. So I don't know. So Kevin King says, yeah, it was one of the Kickstarter benefits, getting it for free. Overboard says, yeah, it was free for them as a backer. So, but you're already on the hook. So of course you should be getting that for free. I'd be like, whoa, hold on a minute, Bob Louie. So, yeah, there you go. Kevin says the same thing. Yeah. The Paizo charge for the actual physical book. I'm not telling Kobold Press not to charge for the physical book if they decide that they want to share the physical book. I mean, I completely agree with that. You want to charge $20 or something for this? Go ahead. But, not the PDF. And yes, if somebody didn't back the Kickstarter, okay, they didn't back the Kickstarter. But I would think Kobold Press is looking for feedback from anybody and everybody. So, all right. So I do know Celeste Konowich is the lead designer on Tales of the Valiant. This is pretty much a finished book here, even though it is the alpha release. So we've got character creation rules. We've got how to play the game. Spells are in here. I think there's like 70 monsters as well. So one question I had asked Wolfgang Bauer during my Gen Con interview was, what is going to differentiate this from 5e? Because I had not taken a look at the playtest. I know of quite a lot of people who had, and there was a lot of discussion. Well, it's not really that different than 5e D&D. And Wolfgang provided a very good answer. They're not looking to make this radically different than D&D, because now with the Creative Commons they can do whatever they want with the rules. So there are some tweaks, there are some changes, there are some things that have been added as well. So I do know that as you level up, you're not going to have any like empty levels or dead levels. You know how you're leveling up and, you know, you hit a level where you really don't get anything new and exciting. That is not the case here. So let's see what we've got. As far as our character creation, gather materials is step 0. Get a pencil, blank character sheet, scratch paper, and dice. Create a character concept. Choose a class. So you can choose your class before you're going to roll up anything. You're going to roll up your abilities, your attributes, strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. So Kevin says, so far, luck points as opposed to inspiration is the only significant difference. So Kevin said, it looks like a lot of things they're doing are like what Wizards of the Coast is doing with the updated 5th edition that's coming out next year. So different ways of rolling up. Choose your lineage, choose a heritage, choose a background, and fill in your blanks. So as far as our classes, what do we got? These traditional 4? It's my guess. And it looks as if all classes are going to have the same experience level tables. So for your level advancement. So 1 through 20. I love the fact how this, even though it's an alpha release, I mean, this looks like a finished product. Russell Higgins is hanging with the gang tonight, saying 3D6 is not good anymore. Scott asks, is this compatible with Wizards of the Coast licenses or Paizo's org? So that is something that's discussed in my interview with Wolfgang. And you may want to take a peek at that. The jury's still out how they want to do it. It sounds like they really are leaning towards orc, but they might just go with Creative Commons. So we got the cleric, who is using an edged weapon. That's interesting. Scott says, I'll take a look at that video ASAP. It's a good interview. I always enjoy talking with Wolfgang. As I mentioned last night, some people give me a hard time because I talk to a lot of the same people at Gen Con every year. And it's sort of like, well, you know, I like these people. And their companies produce really good stuff. So why wouldn't I talk to them? And they tend to, I find them entertaining. So we've got the fighter. So we've got cleric, fighter. There are some subclasses for the fighter. I know Wolfgang talks about that a little bit. We've got our rogue. This also has, I think, a couple of subclasses. We've got our wizard. Wizards as adventurers. I don't know. Why do I always say adventure like that? Adventurer. Like when I'm doing the bundle of holding news pieces. Adventurer. Oh, I was going to also mention that I think this is pretty much going to be the audio going forward. So let me know what you think. Let me know how it sounds. I know last night people were saying, yeah, it sounds pretty good. So just a couple of little tweaks, give it a little more natural feel. So Russell Higgins says, yeah, why would you talk to people you like? You spend all your time around people who despise you. I don't think there's a lot of people who despise me in the hobby. I know there are people who don't like me. That's fine. Don't like the way I approach the hobby. It's like, okay. So lineage, beastkin. It's pretty cool. the bear. We got the dwarf, the elf, the human. So we do not have any halflings in the alpha. So Kevin says, yes, it's the basic 4 in this alpha, but they were playtesting the druid and ranger at Gen Con. Art looks good. Yeah, this is your traditional Kobold Press presentation. So really nice. I got to say, I really dislike this little heart thing that floats in the chat window because it blocks off what people write. So just like Kevin just said, oh, they were playtesting the druid and ranger. All I saw of the druid was D. So I had to guess. I assumed that was what it was. Unlike other page throughs, I'm going to just kind of flip through kind of the whole book. I might skip a page here and there, but I highly doubt anybody would go to the trouble to screenshot this like they did with one of my D&D first looks, which I just was flipping page to page, just kind of talking like I do. And I couldn't believe it. There was actually a pirated copy of, for some reason, I want to say it was Rime of the Frost Maiden floating around. And it was like, you'd see my hand and it would be like, man, you people are sad. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you're that hard up for a copy of the game that you're going to go get like a screenshot. And remember, the videos were far less sharp than they are nowadays. So Overboard says, I really wish everyone would stop adopting the whole lineage and species crap. I respect any company that just sticks to races. Races in role-playing games doesn't mean the color of a human skin. I don't care. Yeah, if they want to call it species, it doesn't bother me. Culture, lineage. It's what they do with, when things get like really just kind of cringeworthy. So playing the game, rolling the dice, making checks. So there you go. We've got checks. D20 plus ability modifier plus proficiency bonus. That is your check result. So, of course, you're looking at overcoming a difficulty number, difficulty class. They didn't even change the name of that. So we've got high chance of success, 10 or less, moderate chance of success, 15, low chance of success, 20, almost no chance of success, 25 or higher. But that's modified by level. I mean, if you're like level 14, you're going to run across stuff that's a lot of times going to have a DC of 25 or higher, because you should end up having pretty high proficiency bonuses. So we've got 3 types of checks. We've got attack rolls, saves, and ability checks. Here's our luck. Every player character has a special resource called luck. Use luck to influence the result of any ability check, attack roll, or save you make. Spend luck points on a 1-for-1 bonus to add to any D20 roll you make. For example, if you have 4 luck points and roll a 13 on the die, you could spend 2 luck points, make it a 15. You could then have 2 luck points to use later on. Okay. That's the only use for your luck points, is just to modify die rolls? Okay. So, Tessie Trekkie says, playing Baldur's Gate 3, there's a lot of druid. I'll show myself out. I went and got Baldur's Gate 3. I've got it installed. I created a character real quick, a paladin, like I always play. And I watched the opening cinematic and that's it. So I figured probably tomorrow night I'll get to kind of dive into it a little bit. So Russell Higgins points out luck is a Dungeon Crawl Classics mechanic. Yes, but here the Game Master is giving out luck points, whereas Dungeon Crawl Classics, unless you're a thief or a halfling, you don't really regenerate luck. So you spend it and it's gone. It's one of the reasons I think the halfling is such a cool species in Dungeon Crawl Classics. Because they're like everybody refers to them as luck batteries. Right, so we've got adventuring, talking about time, movement and travel. Okay, so we have rounds for combat or fast-paced situations, minutes, hours, and days. So essentially, oh, wait, hold on, we've got a turn. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We don't have a turn. It says the game relies on rounds, a 6-second span of time in which every participant gets a turn, and then that's bolded. I don't know why that would be bolded, because they're not indicating that turn is a measurement of time. It's just everybody gets to go, as in everybody takes a turn, as in Mary's the town bike and everybody gets a ride. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Moving right along. I don't know why I even went there. Trying to make sure that YouTube understands that this show's not for children. Don't demonetize me and make me a children's show. Thank you very much. So we've got speed, travel pace, difficult terrain. I mean, gotta be honest, these rules do look to be pretty encompassing here, I guess I'll say. There are some OSR games where their rule books have far less, mechanic content. Flaming Heron says, children's show. Should I mind my P's and Q's? Yeah, there was actually a point in time that YouTube wanted to classify my channel as for kids. And it's like, no, it is not for kids. Just because it's games and things like that. It's like, no. Right, so here we've got combat. So actions in combat. Attack, cast a spell, dash, disengage, dodge. Dodging isn't in 5e, is it? Help. So yes, lending aid to somebody to give them probably advantage. I don't know. Do we have advantage in this? I'm going to take a guess we do. Let's see. Yes, there we go. They get advantage. So there is advantage and disadvantage. You know, I got to be honest. I like that mechanic. I think that was a pretty clever approach. Rather than it's like, oh, well, this gives you a +5 modifier. Oh, well, this gives you a +3 modifier. Just, all right, you get to roll 2 dice. Take the best result. There you go. Boom. All done. So Tessie Trekkie says, Baldur's Gate 3 is awesome fun. My gnome fighter just got to level 12. I may have optimized for jumping and featherfall. A gnome leaping 27 meters is a free action. Spider gnome, spider gnome. Yeah, I've heard really good things about Baldur's Gate 3. Hey, should also mention, those of you who have Epic Store accounts, Europa Universalis 4 is absolutely free starting today for the next week. I love that game. Of course, I've got all the expansions in that, but the core game is excellent. So by all means, grab it. If you like grand strategic games, you have never played it, you will love it. I always like to share the story. I was playing as Spain once, and I think I've mentioned before that I am a non-believer, and I ended up as the protector of the Holy Roman Church, and defeated England to the point where we took over England, and we freed Scotland and Wales and Ireland from the British yoke. It was really wild. All right, so here we've got our equipment, our armor, weapons. So as far as armor goes, light armor, leather, studded leather, medium armor, hide, chain shirt, scale shirt, half plate, heavy armor, ring mail, chain mail, splint, and plate, and then your shield. So pretty standard stuff there. Flaming here, it's a Spain. No one ever expects the Spanish Inquisition. Just made me remember that. Bring out the comfy chair. And then little lady's like, ooh, she's sitting in it, she's like enjoying it. Oh, it's so comfy. Adventuring gear and tools. So here's something I should also mention that I don't think anybody's really pointing out as far as this playtest is that you could easily use this playtest to run any of the Kobold Press adventures. So the collection that I did a first look video of prepared, they're all one-shots. You could run that. Tales from the Waste, which is coming out soon. I should say my video is coming out soon. It's available now. You could run stuff from that. Empire of the Ghouls, which I think is excellent. And let's be honest, pretty much any 5e adventure. Doesn't matter if it's from Wizards of the Coast or not. So something to keep in mind. Tessie Trekkie says, EU4, time to let the Inca establish their empire in the Iberian Peninsula. That's one of the things about Europa Universalis 4 that I always loved is you can really play just about any country. And I mean any country. There's like 150 countries you can play as. Now, will you have a lot of historical events and things like that? It's all going to depend on what expansions you've got. So we got some magic items. Bag of Devouring, Bag of Holding, Blood Spike Armor, Spell Scrolls. So it looks like we still have the spell slots. So it says, every spell is categorized into a ring, ranked from 1st to 9th. Higher rings require more energy to fuel the spell and have stronger effects. Like the rings within a tree trunk, rings of magic encircle one another. A novice spellcaster starts at the center of the circle with access to the first ring. As they grow in ability, their powers expand toward the circle's edge, giving access to more rings. The further a ring is from the center, the higher level a spellcaster must be to use that ring's spells. Each class provides a table of what spellcaster level you must achieve before you gain access to new spell rings. Typically, a spellcaster must be at least 17th level before they can cast spells from the 9th and final ring. So Flaming Heron says they think it's between EU4 and Crusader Kings 3 as their favorite grand strategy games. Yeah, really good stuff. I like Stellaris as well. They're all Paradox. So Russell Higgins says, what about Scarlet Citadel? Yeah, sure. You could run that. I reviewed that adventure. It was all right. Wasn't necessarily my favorite from Kobold Press, but it did kind of have an old school vibe to it. If I remember right, there were too many examples of something I really dislike in role-playing game adventures where it's like, okay, so player characters have to do something to acquire something, to learn something, what have you. But if they fail, someone's going to show up to give them that information or item or whatever anyway. So it's like, so why did we go through all the other stuff in the first place? Just hand it to them. To me, I find that to be kind of lazy adventure design. So we've got the discussion of the elements of a spell. I was going to say, I would like to see at some point, maybe with D&D, I highly doubt we'll see this, but any other like fantasy role-playing game where the level of the spell equates to the level of the character. The whole, well, you know, you got to be third or fourth level before you get a second level spell. Just, it does not make sense. It's not intuitive. But for some strange reason, and yes, I know there are some games out there that do that, where it's like, oh, you're a first level character. Well, these are your spells that you get. They are first level. So, but as far as like the big fantasy role-playing games, this whole, you know, okay, so let's see. So that character's 13th level, so that means they get 5th level spells. It's like, wait, what? So, all right, so we've got our different spells here. And these look like tried and true. Featherfall, Firebolt, Fly, Haste, Grease, Gentle Repose. So Russell says, I don't like that some games just allow you to cast without some sort of skill check. I agree with you on that. I believe Magic and fantasy role-playing games should require a successful casting roll. One of the reasons why I really like the Magic system from Dungeon Crawl Classics, outside of the fact of all the different tables you have. So, but I do like the fact that you have to roll to succeed to be able to cast your spell. Now, I also am a fan of Magic systems that do not utilize spell slots. That maybe you have mana or what have you, or like Dungeon Crawl Classics, you can continue casting the spell until you fail your casting roll, and then you're going to need to re-memorize it after that. I like that. I'm certainly not a fan of systems where your character needs to memorize their spells. That I think is not, that whole line of thought has not aged well at all. So we've got some additional spell descriptions. This really does seem pretty thorough here, gang. It really does. You know what? I guess I'll do a review of this. I wasn't really planning on it because it's a play test, but you know, I can put together a video where I share some thoughts about if this is worth, you know, taking a deeper look into. I know Wolfgang Bauer mentioned that if you're not a fan of 5e D&D, if you don't just mechanically do not like 5e D&D, you're probably not going to be wanting to pick this up. So Mr. Marmello keeps hitting me up with these super chats with New Zealand dollars, which it says $3.50, probably like 10 cents American. Just kidding. I don't know what the exchange rate is, but thank you for another super chat. Okay, so we're getting into monsters. As I mentioned, I think we've got 70 of them. So it's breaking down our stat blocks. So we've got animated objects, crimson jelly, the husk demon, the Quasit demon. Looks like we get an image for each of these. That's cool. The T-Rex, the Velociraptor, black dragon, red dragon. And we're getting the dragons at different ages. Void dragon. There's the void dragon there. Fire elemental. Our gelatinous cube. Yes. So eBay was at Gen Con again. So I don't know if they're like launching some like collectible card. I don't think it's a game, but I think they're launching some sort of like trading card thing. But they also had Pin Bazaar pins. So they had those. Now, I don't know. I was not at Gen Con on Sunday. I figured, what am I going to do? I don't have a cameraman anymore. And I had actually borrowed my dad's car because my car's, it's my car is from, hey, ready for this? 1994. It was my grandfather's car. It had no mileage on it. So, I mean, it had, gosh, I've had that car now, probably 10 years, something like that. And there's still less than 80,000 miles on it. But I was like, yeah, I want to get the car back to him. I feel weird driving somebody else's car. But on Thursday and Friday, eBay was handing out these pins from Pin Bazaar, and one of them was a gelatinous cube. And I had to laugh because my brother looked at it and he said, hey, isn't this a gelatinous cube? I thought, how the hell does he know this? Told you before, he's really not a gamer. I mean, he played D&D years and years ago when he was in grammar school. So Kevin King says this looks like 5e with bug fixes and more polish. Well, as Wolfgang Bauer points out, that it is not going to like radically change anything from 5e D&D. That there are some things that they include, they drop a few things, but as I had pointed out just a few moments ago, in the interview, he even says, if you're not a fan of 5e mechanically, you're not really going to dig this either. So I thought that was pretty cool of him to say that, because a lot of publishers wouldn't go on record saying, well, if you don't like X game, you're not going to like our game either. They'd be like, oh, well, it's different. So Flaming Aaron said they had a 98 Falcon for over 10 years and only put 10 kilometers on it. 10 kilometers or 10,000. All right. The Mimic. Hey, look, the Mimic is not a chest. It is a barrel. So Kevin says, let's see, let Wizards of the Coast start making unpopular moves, make a better version of their best game, and watch what happens. 4E versus Paizo Redux. So yes, Flaming Aaron says yes, 10,000. Once again, I always like the presentation for Kobold Press. I think they have a nice kind of steady art style. It's uniform. To me, that's important in a role-playing game. Now, I don't mind like different art styles, but when you've got stuff that's somewhat realistic looking like this or that, And then you flip a page and you've got that infamous halfling bard from D&D. You're like, what? Sporeborn. So yeah, it looks like we do have like 70 monsters in here. I'm very, very intrigued by what we're going to see in the next year to 2 years following the open game license fiasco. I think we are going to find, which we already have, just an embarrassment of riches as far as role-playing game systems out there that are really good. And I think, I'm just throwing my 2 cents out here. And no, I have not shared my review of Big B Presents Glory of the Giants yet. But I think we are going to continue to see Wizards of the Coast stumble. They're going to continue to misread their core audience, not the fly-by-nighters who pick up D&D and they play it for 6 months or a year and then they're on to something else. I'm talking about the people who have been with Wizards of the Coast for more than one edition of Dungeons and Dragons. I think they really take those consumers for granted. And I'm probably going to touch on this a little bit in my review of Glory of the Giants. And I think that we are going to see the stranglehold of D&D loosen, because there was a point in time, especially 4th edition D&D, which I know a lot of people badmouth it, but there were people who liked 4th edition, who like 4th edition more than 5th edition. But there was a point in time that Pathfinder was outselling Dungeons and Dragons consistently for years. Pathfinder was outselling it. And then we got 5th edition. And right now, you do see Dungeons and Dragons outselling Pathfinder and essentially everybody else. I think if the design teams and the powers that be making the decisions about Dungeons and Dragons continue along the path that they have stumbled along for a few years, we're going to see D&D start being pretty like level as far as the playing field. So anyway, that is Tales of the Valiant. This is the alpha release, which looks really impressive. Once again, Wolfgang Bauer or anybody else, Celeste Konowich, anybody from the team over at Kobold Press working on this, let me implore you to offer the PDF for free. I think it would be a fantastic PR move by Kobold Press. And I mentioned a few other things that I think charging for the PDF for a playtest is a wrong move. And I honestly think people out there who see this video and they're like, wow, I'm really interested in it. I don't want to pay $10 for it. They might look at other avenues to get their hands on it, which is not something we want to see. All right. Anyway, so that is Tales of the Valiant, the alpha release. Once again, this is slated to be a 2024 release for Kobold Press. So I should also mention that the game plan is to have 3 core books. So you are going to have the player's guide, the game master's guide, and then you will have the monster vault. So you might be thinking, well, wait a second. We've got like 3 volumes of Tome of Beasts. Why would we have a monster vault? Well, the monster vault, as far as I understand, I don't know for sure, and I point this out in the video with my interview. I don't work for Kobold Press. Because I have people ask me stuff about Kobold Press all the time, and it's sort of like, yeah, I cover their releases and that, but I don't work there. I don't have my finger on that pulse like, you know, like all the time. But I think essentially the Monster Vault is going to be the Monster Manual. So if you look in the Tome of Beasts, yes, there is some overlap with traditional creatures and monsters that you would find in the D&D Monster Manual, but not a lot. So the Monster Vault would be the Kobold Press take on kobolds and goblins and orcs and, you know, all the various different kinds of dragons and things like that. So Kevin points out this is only an alpha. It only covers the 4 classes for 5 levels. So Kevin had also pointed out, I think Wizards of the Coast had decided to give up on hardcore tabletop gamers in favor of selling a glorified video game to normies. Well, we know that Wizards of the Coast wants Dungeons and Dragons to be a lifestyle brand. It's like, okie dokie. Overboard says they may not want to give it out for free because they believe there isn't going to be many changes, if any. So it'd be giving away a potential finished book. But it's not, as I just pointed out. This is 177 pages. I have the impression there was some off-the-record discussion that I can't get into, but I do have the impression that Tales of the Valiant, the 3 volumes, are probably going to end up clocking in together at about 900 pages. So them giving away this alpha release for free is not the finished product. It's far from it. But as you know, Kevin points out too, it's just an alpha. So Russell says, whoa, are you not on the payroll of Kobold Press? I'm not on anybody's payroll. You know that. Come on. If I was on somebody's payroll, don't you think the production quality of these videos would be better? Russell Higgins says, as someone who survived the 80s being a role player, let me say that lifestyle is not what they're shooting for. Well, but that is what they're saying. I mean, not to the public, but to investors and stuff. Yeah, that is what they've actually stated. I just nearly knocked this over. But they have stated to investors that is pretty much their game plan. Just like, and we'll wrap up, but we'll chat a little bit because it's the last show of the week. But they have indicated to investors, to stockholders and that yes, they want to make Dungeons and Dragons a lifestyle brand, whatever the fuck that means. That some of these, you know, terms and that, it's just ridiculous. But something else that I was going to mention is I thought I encountered something saying that in Australia, is it this next wave of D&D releases that are going to be the last print editions that are sold in Australia, that they will not be selling Dungeons and Dragons physical books in Australia. And I was kind of like, is part of that because of like all the shipping costs and things like that? Or is it like, this is our first step in taking the books off the shelves, out of the retailers, and making sure everything is digital? Because we know that is also part of the game plan that Hasbro has for D&D. I don't know. I honestly don't know. There's some really asinine ideas, in my opinion. You know, not a shareholder. I've worked in the business arena, but I've never been like a C-level executive or anything like that. But to me, some of this stuff just doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. And who was it that pointed? I think it was Kevin pointed something out where it's like, hang on, let me go back real quick. Because the chat is flying fast and furious right now. Yeah, right. So Kevin pointed out, they don't want the hardcore gamers. They just want, the kids in grammar school who are like, oh yeah, I heard Dungeons and Dragons is cool. Just like I guess the final verdict on the Dungeons and Dragons movie is it was a flop. That they took a shellacking on that. So ain't gonna be seeing any more of that. So who was it? Who was the actor who was in the movie talking about, oh, you need to make sure that you stream it. You got to stream it so so we have an opportunity to have a sequel. It's like streaming it's not going to help you. The box office was very lacking for that. And I thought it was okay. I thought it was all right. So it's the thing. I don't dislike Wizards of the Coast. I have absolutely no animosity towards them. I don't have any animosity towards Hasbro. I just call things as I see it. So if Beyond Fendelver is that adventure that's coming out October, November, or something like that. I actually sort of have the impression it might be pretty good. So, I mean, if Wizards of the Coast releases something for D&D that I think is good, I say it's good. I really liked The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Some people didn't. I thought it was an adventure that came across as a blast. It was different. It had a real fairy tale vibe to it, which you don't normally see in Dungeons and Dragons. And then the Castle Keep was crap. And I said that. You'll have to find out what I think of the Giants book. I'll give you a hint. It's not crap, but I do have some issues with it. So Flaming Heron says, no more D&D movies unless someone else makes them. Russell Higgins says, I thought it was pretty good. By comparison, I saw Jeremy Irons walk away with a lot of money that wasn't realized in the theater. Oh, yeah, and he chewed a lot of scenery, too. Kevin says, it was a pretty good movie. The first D&D movie you don't have to feel ashamed of. Yeah, you don't feel dirty after watching it. You're like, ooh, I need a shower after that. Flaming Sharon says, the problem is they released it against Super Mario Brothers, which is a juggernaut of a franchise. Yes, if that juggernaut is heading straight down. It sure is. All right. So that is it for this time out. Don't forget, Monday, we're going to jump on in and take a look at the new Cyberpunk Red supplement, the Danger Gal Dossier from Artel Saurian Games. Then on Wednesday, we're going to have a bit of a War Game Wednesday. We're going to jump on in, take a peek at The Last Kingdom from Gamelin Games. This is based on the television show, which I know. Did I say Monday? On Tuesday, I don't. It's because what was it? What did I do? Like 800 and some shows where I did Monday shows. It was years of having shows on Mondays. So it takes some getting used to. So yes, on Tuesday's show, we'll be taking a look at that. Then Wednesday, like I said, we'll take a look at The Last Kingdom, which I really know nothing about the TV show. I think I watched like 2 episodes and it didn't grab me. So I usually give shows like 3 episodes. Series get 3 episodes. If it hasn't grabbed me, I'm on to something else. And then a week from tonight, we'll be looking at the boxed edition of Rutmurk from AAW Games. And of course, we have plenty of other goodies on the horizon. Don't forget, I will be sharing my first look at the practically complete guide to dragons for Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. And I will have the Paizo preview where I will take a much more in-depth look at Rage of Elements for Pathfinder. So lots of content, 2 more interview videos for me to share. They should be up tonight. And it is, one is with Kieran Gillen, who is the creator of Die RPG. I stopped by Rowan Rook and Descartes to interview him. And then I talked to Rick Mintz over at Chaosium Inc. I also have an interview with Aaron from Rollercrit. It's audio because Greg had already left, so I didn't have a cameraman. But I did some B-roll, so I'm going to try to piece something together. That'll probably be up maybe tomorrow or possibly Saturday. All righty then. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming Paizo preview, which will be featuring Rage of Elements for Pathfinder. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. And of course, enjoy the rest of your week and weekend. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, an even bigger thank you, because not only do you keep me company, you keep each other company while I'm farting around looking inside books and boxes and stuff like that. But I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos on this channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Till I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.